And a very happy good morning to everybody. Monday after Super Bowl 54, and we are live with Pot Up with Matthews in the morning. I'm John Cornell. My partner Shane Matthews is on assignment. He will be back tomorrow, but we will have him in just a moment on the phone. We are here for you with another show Monday through Friday, 8 o'clock. It's live. We are here at 8 o'clock this morning here and ready to go with a big show before we get the week started with Super Bowl recap from yesterday. Kansas City winning the Super Bowl 31-20 over San Francisco. We had a Florida Gator basketball win over the weekend in Nashville, Tennessee. That was a win over Vanderbilt. My man Shane, are you with us here? Can you hear me?
I can hear you well, JC. How are you, my
man? It's good to have you with us. We are recapping, of course, the big night. Shane joins us, of course, on the Titan MRI text line and phone line. The number, of course, is 352-353-7465. We'll have Shane with us until about 8:30 as we go up until the 9 o'clock hour. Shane, I'm sure you were impressed with what you saw last night in the Super Bowl. A game where a lot of second guessing afterwards, as you would expect with Monday morning quarterbacks. But let's get your initial thoughts on the game and what you saw yesterday.
Well, I thought it was a phenomenal game, honestly. I thought it kind of went how I expected. The 49ers, I said all along, I thought for the entire season was the best overall football team. I still think they are. But the Chiefs had the best player in football, and it just took him a while to get going. And a couple plays that he made here and there just shows that he's going to be around for a long time and may go down as the best quarterback to ever play the game. He's the most talented I've ever seen. But it was a great game. You know, you hate to see somebody lose, but you got to tip your hat for the Chiefs to come back. I mean, they came back 3 straight weeks in the playoffs, double digits in the second half. So good for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, and good for the city. 50 years since they won the Super Bowl back in actually the season was 1969. They won the game in January of 1970. And you're right, Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs, they're down in 3 games during the playoffs by 24 to Houston, by 10 to Tennessee, and then, of course, last night by 10 to San Francisco, but they came back. I was really kind of surprised at some of the things I saw in the fourth quarter. Of course, that's when Kansas City made their move, because for 3 quarters it looked like the Niners had his number. After the interception in the third quarter, up 20 to 10, I was feeling pretty good for San Francisco's hopes, and I was wondering, when are we going to see Kansas City really get going on the offensive side of the ball? And that's when Pat Mahomes, their defense, Kansas City's defense, kept them around, kept them in the game so that Pat Mahomes had the chance. And I just have to wonder about some of the things that San Francisco could have maybe done to score more points. And there's a lot of second guessing. Your guy Shanahan catching a little heat this morning over some of the things that he didn't do. We'll start with the first half, allowing almost 2 minutes to run off the clock. They were at the 150 mark when Kansas City was able to run 40 seconds off the clock before the half rather than have San Francisco stop the clock. They had 3 timeouts. Talk a little bit about what you saw from Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers last night.
Well, I do. I think everyone questions the clock management there at the end of the first half, and I'm sure there's a reason why he did that. I don't think that had anything to do with the outcome of the game, but it could have gave them an opportunity to possibly put some more points on the board. Who knows? I mean, they could have stopped the clock, and then they could have fumbled or threw an interception.
Sure.
You can't really question what might have happened. But, bottom line is the 49ers, in my opinion, had a tremendous game plan against the Chiefs. There's a handful of teams, maybe 2 or 3 teams in the National Football League that play zone coverage. The 49ers are the leading team that plays zone coverage on the back end, and the Colts play a lot of zone. And what you saw was a blueprint of how the Tampa Bay Buccaneers won the Super Bowl when they did it under John Gruden with the Tony Dungy defense. They played they rushed 4 every now and then. They bring a 5-man rush, but they played a lot of zone, kept the ball in front of them, and it frustrated this Chiefs offense because it's a big play offense. And you don't see every Sunday in the NFL, you don't see teams play zone. They just don't do it. And the one play that changed the game when they were down 20 to 10, it was a 3rd and 15. They let Tyreek Hill run a pylon route for about a 45-yard gain on 3rd and 15 against cover 3 zone, and you just can't allow any ball to get over your head when you play zone defense. And that was the play that turned the game, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was a one-man route, blown coverage somewhat, and they hit it on that 3-deep zone that you were talking about. The guy was pretty much wide open. But I want to go back to San Francisco missing some play action. Jimmy G, you can't really blame Kyle for some of these passes that he did not throw. There was a wide-open George Kittle on a 3rd down. There was a wide-open Emmanuel Sanders off the play action, which I thought was their most effective play. They did run the ball for an average of 6.5 yards per carry, but the play action was unstoppable, and Jimmy just missed some of those wide open guys in key situations in the 4th quarter. But let me go back to that first half for a minute there, QB. You've got John Lynch up there in the booth screaming for a timeout. They have the ball with about a minute to go. In my mind, when you've got number 15 over there on the other side, you have to score as many points as you're capable of scoring, or you have a chance to score, because Kansas City is going to turn it on at some point. And I just couldn't stand the way they just let the clock run out, and that surprised me somewhat. The also thing that surprised me was kicking field goals on 4th and 2. I don't know why you do that when you have to try to score touchdowns to beat the Chiefs. And he kicked field goals on 4th and 2. That one field goal he kicked on 4th and 2, I was really surprised to see that. And I thought Chris Jones of Kansas City, this is a guy that batted down a bunch of passes in the 4th. That Kansas City defense, we talk about San Francisco, but tell me a little bit about what you saw off of Kansas City. We know what Mahomes was able to do, but how about what the Chiefs were able to do on that defense when they had to stop the 49ers, especially after that interception? Did you think that was a key to Kansas City winning the game?
Well, I think there's a lot of key points. I mean, you can look at 5 or 6 plays during a game to see, that determines the outcome. But, the Chiefs, obviously, their defense kept them in the game, made some plays. And you mentioned, JC, about Garoppolo missing some throws.
Yeah.
He did. But how many throws did Pat Mahomes miss?
A bunch.
Ton.
Yeah, he missed a bunch.
So,
he missed a bunch.
So, it's neither quarterback played their A game. I thought it was a tremendous Super Bowl, one of the best that I can remember in a long time, because I thought it was 2 outstanding teams, very well coached. I mean, you can always, second guess a couple of things here and there, but here's what I will say about that game. From an offensive guy, which I am, I don't know if I've ever seen a professional football game with so much creativity on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah,
it was just so fun to watch, the different plays. I mean, think about all the carries Deebo Samuel had, the different ways they got him the football. The 4th down where they ran the old version of a wing tee, where they all the entire backfield did a little spin around, and then they snap it directly to the tailback. It was just, I thought the creativity, it was a lot of fun for me to watch, and you hate it for a team to lose it, but just the way that the Chiefs just never give up. And that's the thing about the Chiefs. We talked about it, how the Titans, for them to have a chance, and I thought the Titans had a great game plan. But if you don't execute that game plan perfectly, pretty much every play, every snap of the game, they're so explosive on the other side, they're going to make some plays and probably win the game.
Well,
and that's what happened.
Well, I go back to the 4th down. Andy was 2 for 2 on 4th down. I mean, he made 4th down twice. And I think one of the plays was a simple quarterback option where Bosa hit Mahomes, but the ball was in Williams' hands, and there he goes to the sideline for the 1st down. And I don't know, you see that kind of play that often in the NFL, but don't you think it was just they were aggressive is what I'm trying to say here.
Well, they were, but as I just said, the creativity. They ran the option, the speed option, twice in the game.
Yeah.
Once he pitched it. The second time he ran it for a touchdown.
Yeah.
When is the last time you've seen the speed option run on a Sunday in the National Football League?
No, it's not happening.
Never.
It's
Never.
not happening. No, it's not happening. But I don't know, QB. I thought San Francisco was going to win. I was wrong. They didn't win. They were up 20-10 with 7 minutes to go in the game, and poor Kyle Shanahan. This is another 10-point 10-point lead he loses in the 4th quarter of a Super Bowl. Maybe he should have run the ball more in the 4th quarter. Maybe he shouldn't have. Of course, we go back to when the Falcons had the Patriots by the by the neck, and they let him go. And he threw he called a pass when he should have run the ball, and Dante Hightower strips Matt Ryan, and the rest is history. I don't know. I guess he's just he's probably sitting back there thinking, okay, if I could have done it over this and that. But Kansas City deserves a lot of credit for scoring those 21 unanswered points. And Mahomes had 2 touchdown passes in the fourth quarter. Williams had 2 touchdowns for the game, 104 yards carrying the ball for Kansas City. And the Chiefs are now your Super Bowl champions. Did you predict that the Chiefs? Did you think the Chiefs were going to hold San Francisco to 20 points? I mean, I go back to the defense again. I think you keep that team inside of. They had scored 2 touchdowns and 2 field goals. I thought the Chiefs' defense, to me, was one of the primary reasons, not the only reason, but certainly one of the primary reasons why they won the game. What could San Francisco have done differently if you were looking back as a 49er fan to close out this game and win it?
Well, it's anytime you lose a football game, regardless
back.
if it's the Super Bowl or just a regular season game, you're going to second guess yourself and go back and say, well, maybe we should have done this, should have done that.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, the one drive, I think the Niners, when they were up 20-10, they run on first down. I think they get about a 5 or 6 yard gain.
Yeah.
So it's 2nd and 5.
Right.
Clock is running. He runs a play action pass, which I have no problem with because. What do you think the Chiefs are going to be expecting?
No, listen, they were great on play action. So, I agree with the call. I'm not saying that was a bad idea, but Garoppolo missed his guy.
No, the ball got knocked down.
Got knocked down, that's right.
The
Jones.
ball got knocked down.
Yeah.
And so there's nothing you can do about that. It's a great play by the defender.
Sure.
So now it's 3rd and 5, and you have to throw it, and they covered everybody. They pressured him, and everybody was covered.
Well, except Kittle. George Kittle was wide open.
Well, that's one of those deals. We don't know what his read was, depending on the coverage. And a lot of times it's one of those deals where after the ball is thrown, then you may pan back the commentator and say, well, he was open. Well, that ain't the case all the time. So we can't sit here and say he should have thrown that ball to George Kittle because we don't know what the play call was, and we don't know when the ball was thrown. Now that defender or that person in that area leaves that receiver to make it look like he's open. So it's hard for us to analyze that when we don't have the game tape and know the play call.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can pinpoint and blame this on Kyle Shanahan. I think he is a brilliant football coach, and the stuff that he came up with I thought was outstanding. It comes back to I said all along, 49ers are the best team in football. And I don't know who all they're going to lose, all 13, but that number 15 is the best NFL football player I've ever seen. And think about it, JC. He's only in his 3rd year.
Oh, I know. He's only played 2 of those 3 years, by the way.
He is one that never comes around because of his mobility and the way he can make every throw look so easy. The Chiefs they're going to be in the hunt for a long time.
They are, and I like what they did in some respect with Joey Bosa. I mean, he wasn't disrupting the entire game. He got in there a few times, but Andy Reid had some plans for him in that 4-man pass rush that they present. But you're right. I think Kansas City is going to be the AFC favorite now. I think Baltimore's very good. But, boy, the Chiefs, if they keep that defense intact, I think that you give Mahomes, it doesn't really matter if you're down 7, down 14, down 10. As long as there's time on the clock, they are a threat to win any game with that guy back there and the weapons that he has outside. Watkins was good. Hill is good. Certainly when they lost Kareem Hunt in the backfield, that left a hole, but Damian Williams has stepped in and done a great job. And good old LaShawn McCoy now has a Super Bowl ring, even though he wasn't a factor in this game. But the offensive line held up, and they win the game 31-20. The game goes under the 54 total. One of the things you might find this somewhat interesting, you may not, but I was, there was you remember on Friday when we talked about the prop bets. You recall doing that? And one of the one of the prop bets that had the most money that was bet was Patrick Mahomes rushing yards, and it opened at 29.5 yards. And the line was bet up to 36.5, so everybody had the over 29.5 rushing yards for Patrick Mahomes. Well, QB, he had 44 yards rushing before the final drive. And in that final drive, you saw what happened, right? He goes backwards. He loses 15 yards on kneel downs. And he finishes with 29 yards. So
that's a tough way to lose, man.
That'll be on Van Pelt's Bad Beats, but that was one of the prop bets that went under that should have gone over, and you had it beat by 15 yards or 14 and a half yards, and it went under. But I mean, that got a chuckle out of me. So did you watch any of the halftime show? I know commercials and halftime shows are a big deal on this production. Did you happen to see any of that, or did you go to the bathroom and take care of other things?
No, I was watching from from afar the halftime show, and it looked entertaining. I couldn't tell you one song that those two ladies sang. Their dancing was outstanding, but not only did I not know their songs, JC, I couldn't understand any of the words. Was everything in Spanish?
Well, I'm going to tell you, I missed the entire halftime show because I literally had to walk home from a Super Bowl party I was at to my house, which took the exact time that the Super Bowl show endured, I guess. And so I missed the entire thing, but I saw some of the clips and highlights. And one of the GIFs or whatever that everybody on Twitter is putting up was Shakira. By the way, it was Shakira and J-Lo. And here they are. I mean, you have to give the middle-aged entertainers credit. I mean, Shakira's like 45. She started off. J-Lo's over 50. And they had a lot of energy from what I'm hearing. But Shakira had this little tongue thing that was flipping. She had the tongue flip. And apparently I'm hearing that the tongue flip is she has a Lebanese dad. So that is an Arabic expression of joy. I wasn't sure if you knew that, but that got a lot of attention in the halftime show. I did not either. But those are some of the things we're hearing from the halftime show, and I really don't watch that. And the commercials, was there a commercial that stuck out, or do you blow those off too? Because I kind of blow them off.
I didn't pay attention. I didn't pay attention to one commercial.
You didn't look at
honestly.
one commercial. Okay. Well, listen, I know that.
I mean, I watched them, but I was not paying attention, and I care less about those commercials. I know majority of the world, that's all they care about is commercials. True. They could care less about football.
Well, I mean, God bless. I went to a party last night, and it just at the beginning of the game, I missed the national anthem. By the way, that went under 2 minutes and 2 seconds with Demi Lovato. She blew through it in a minute and a half. So the under was the play on everything last night. But at any rate, I'm at a party, and there's 10,000 people in the house, and they're all talking, and like right before the game, nobody was talking. There's Shakira. There she goes. There was nobody talking. I mean, everybody was talking. Nobody was watching the damn game. And I was like, what are we doing here? So I had to adjust that at halftime and go somewhere else. But that's what most football parties are like, JC. You should know since you're a party animal. Nobody it's just like when you go to a skybox at a football game. Yeah, you might as well be in your kitchen at home because nobody's watching the game. Well, listen, I was grateful for the invite and happy to go to that party. The food was incredible, and I had a good time. But at some point, I had to listen and see the game, not just see the game, if you know what I mean, and not listen. So and not be able to listen. So I was happy to move on in the second half and watch the finish of the game, which was tremendous. The second half QB. Shane Matthews joins us on the Titan MRI call-in line and text line. The number is 352-353-7465. Please feel free to send us a text. We'll read it after Shane moves on here in the second part of the hour. We're also we've brought a lot of new ideas and hopefully new things to the show that will enable you to participate on Spotify, on Facebook Live, on YouTube, and, of course, Apple iTunes. So we're excited to have this for you every morning from 8 to 9 o'clock. QB, we're going to grab a quick timeout, let you catch your breath, and we'll come back and wrap it up with you as we go forth through the hour here at 8 o'clock. You're listening and watching Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning.
Time out! Time out! Hey! Time out! Time out! Time out! There we go. Good.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security, small enough to serve you, large enough to care. Gators Dockside, wings, ribs, seafood, and beer.
Bob in trouble, gets rid of it. Oh, big hit.
Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility.
Our touchdown sponsors are Radware Promotional Materials, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Gator BTW, Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, Miapa Latin Cafe, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Adams Ribs, The Keys Restaurant, UF Mover Guys, Union Home Mortgages, Okido America Martial Arts and After School, and Tropical Smoothie Cafe.
If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click on the advertise button or call Freddie Wiebe at 352-284-3733.
Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Still looking. He's going for the end zone. He's got a touchdown!
Okay, we're back on Pot Up with Matthews in the morning. Remember, Celebration Point is where the Gators come to celebrate with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Nike, Palmetto Moon, Regal Cinemas, and coming soon, the head ball coach's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We will see you at Celebration Point where the Gators come to celebrate. This is an exciting time to be in Florida, be in Gainesville, Celebration Point. We've got all this Florida football to look forward to, and now the basketball team gets a win on the road, a Saturday night QB. I don't know if you watched it, but they beat Vanderbilt, and they were, they snapped that 3-game losing streak. They win 61-55. Johnson had 20 points for Florida with 7 rebounds. Did you watch the game?
I did. I didn't think we played very well.
Yeah.
The more I watch Vanderbilt, they're one of the worst basketball
They're
teams
awful.
I've seen in years.
Yeah, they're awful.
They're beyond awful.
Okay.
They not only do they have trouble scoring, they play really bad defense. Vanderbilt does.
Yeah.
It's almost like, I was shocked at how many open guys we had at times. But listen, we've always struggled in Memorial Gymnasium there for whatever reason. We won. That's all that matters. We snapped that 3-game losing streak. So we have 10 regular season games left. As I mentioned, I thought we needed to go 8-3, so we're 1-0. And who do we have on deck? I think the Georgia Bulldogs, which
right.
they're kind of they're an interesting basketball team. They have some really, really good talent.
Mm-hmm.
They have the projected number 1 pick in the NBA draft on their team, but we're a better roster. And as we had Frank Frangione last week, when you look at the next opponent and you say our roster is better than your roster, well, we got to win those games. There's no more messing around.
It's true, and Georgia is a team that is very beatable and should be beaten when you're playing them at home. They did win on Saturday, beating Texas A&M by 15 points. Other games in the conference on Saturday had Mississippi State beating Tennessee by 13 points. They're catching heat right now. They're a little. That's a hot team. Another hot team over here is South Carolina. They beat Missouri at home by 22 points. So those are 2 teams on the rise. Arkansas had a big win on the road at Alabama. They won by 4. And Auburn had a big win at home against the Kentucky Wildcats, 75-66. So LSU, of course, stays unbeaten. They beat Mississippi 73-63. So what's next? Well, we have Tennessee traveling to Alabama. We have Auburn going to Arkansas. That could be a very interesting game there. I think Mississippi State and Kentucky will be a good game to watch, and then Missouri and Texas A&M. Florida gets back on the court Wednesday, February 5th, as they play the Georgia Bulldogs, as Shane just said. South Carolina and Mississippi play, and then LSU and Vanderbilt. So it looks like LSU QB is going to stay unbeaten. It seems like we're starting to see some separation in this league, but I would point out that over the weekend I was impressed by Arkansas and South Carolina winning big games.
Yeah, South Carolina's playing really well right now. LSU was burying Ole Miss. Ole Miss made a little run to make it somewhat close, but yeah, they're the cream of the crop at this time.
Mm-hmm.
I think Kentucky's still a really good basketball team. Auburn, I'm not real sure about Auburn. I know they won the other night, but the one team I like the best behind LSU right now are the Mississippi State Bulldogs.
Yeah,
I think they play Kentucky tomorrow. I think they play Kentucky tomorrow night.
Right.
I'm telling you, Mississippi State has so much talent and length on their basketball team that game, I think it's in Lexington, so they probably won't win it. But I just think that's a team that can sneak into the NCAA tournament.
I would tend to agree with that. And Florida, I think, is on the bubble right now. State's probably on the bubble. Alabama's probably on the bubble. I think Arkansas, I think Kentucky, LSU, certainly Auburn. Those are 4 solid teams right now looking in or on the inside of the bubble, I guess you would say, or they're not on the bubble, they're in basically. All right, so last night again, we had Kansas City winning 31-20 quarterback. San Francisco had a 20-10 lead. They lose that lead, Kansas City with 21 unanswered points. You might be interested to know that the Chiefs, this is their second Super Bowl in 50 years. They last won it in 1970. The difference is, though, for these players, and what I thought was really cool is that Clark Hunt, the owner, is going to allow the players that won that first Super Bowl for them, Super Bowl IV, to go in the parade and lead the parade in Kansas City, because back then those players had to go to the Pro Bowl, so they missed the parade in Kansas City, and that would have been Bobby Bell, Len Dawson, Buck Buchanan, players like that for Kansas City. They missed the parade because they had to play in the Pro Bowl after the Super Bowl, so I thought it was a nice gesture that Clark Hunt says, hey, these guys are going to lead the parade when we have it in Kansas City. And you mentioned Kansas City. You think this is going to be the start of a run for the Chiefs and Andy Reid with this Super Bowl championship because of the youth and the players that they have locked up under contract, I guess?
Well, I do. Kansas City is one of the great franchises, even though it's only their second Super Bowl. Playing there several times, it's got that college atmosphere, great fan base, not a huge market. I do think it's going to be a run, JC, because I think Andy Reid is a very, very good football coach, been around a long time. And as long as he has 15 under center, they're going to win a lot of football games. I mean, think about it. This is only the guy's third year. He's been the MVP of the regular season, now Super Bowl MVP, got a Super Bowl ring.
Youngest one ever. Youngest one to win,
And the great thing about him is he's very mature. He doesn't take a lot of the credit. He spreads it among his teammates, and I think a lot of that has to do with the family. He was brought up. His dad was a Major League Baseball pitcher for 11 or 12 years, so he's been around the limelight his whole life. And I just love his demeanor, his character. Obviously, his talent is outstanding, maybe the best I've ever seen. I think the Chiefs have a chance to go back and repeat next year. I mean, it's so hard to do that in the NFL, and what the Patriots did was amazing. Mm-hmm. But this guy can carry his team, no doubt about it.
He does, and he's the reason they won and were able to get to the Super Bowl after falling behind in 3 straight playoff games. At one point, down 24-0 to the Houston Texans in that first divisional playoff game. So it was a tremendous, tremendous run. Kansas City 15-4, finishing up at 15-4. I can't even remember the 4 games they lost. It's been such a long season, but it's a good win for the Chiefs. The 49ers, though, I think will be back. As you mentioned, really a great team as well. But they made some mistakes on defense in the backfield specifically, and I think you pointed that out, that Kansas City, if they had the opportunities, would hit them, and they did in the fourth quarter. But for 3 quarters, it looked good for the 49ers. I'm somewhat surprised, to be honest with you, that Kansas City won, because I thought San Francisco had that after that interception in the third quarter. But, hey, that's the way it is, and football is funny that way, and certainly if there's time left, Pat Mahomes can win it. Any final thoughts for you before we let you go there, QB? We'll see you tomorrow, I guess?
No. Yeah, I'll see you boys tomorrow.
Okay, well, enjoy your day, and we will catch you tomorrow back here on Matthews in the Morning, Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning, live from the Crime Prevention Security Systems Studios. Thanks for joining us, QB. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, take care, guys.
There he goes. All right, Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning. I'm John Cornell. You can listen to the show on Spotify. You've got what else is that there, Taylor? iTunes. You got something in the way there. I can't see that. What's that say? Oh, Apple Podcasts. I got to be able to see what you got. So it was, and remember, you can, okay, here it is. iTunes. See, for some reason, I just have a hard time remembering. iTunes and Spotify, and you can watch the show on YouTube, Facebook.com, and PotUpWithShane.com. Of course, our Titan MRI text line and phone line is 352-353-7465. Remember, you can watch previous episodes of the show on PotUpWithShane.com. YouTube, and Facebook. And of course, as always, we are looking for more businesses that would like to sponsor the show. Without sponsors, we're certainly not able to do what we do here. And so please share the show with your friends. Click the like button and then the share button so all your friends can enjoy the show as well. 8:31 is your time. I think the Chiefs, he said it. He said that is the college atmosphere that you look for when you go to an NFL game. And I think there may be a couple of other stadiums like that, but Kansas City has a raucous fan base. They travel exceptionally well, and they are celebrating. This is a party that's going to go on in Kansas City and in Missouri and in Kansas for a good couple of months. I think this is a fan base this is a very similar fan base to LSU in that they travel well. They have a certain flair and a personality to them, and they are different in many ways, and they love their Chiefs. I think the Buffalo Bill fan base is similar to this kind of fan base, the Cleveland Brown fan base, and I say that because they haven't had success, and now here they are as world champions, and it's a very new type of thing. You know, New England fans and Pittsburgh fans and San Francisco fans and certainly Dallas Cowboy fans have had this happen more than once, obviously. Green Bay Packer fans, they've won it 4 times. But for a franchise like this, for many folks, since it's been 50 years for the Kansas City Chiefs, there's been probably a couple of generations that haven't seen a Super Bowl championship, and it's much like Philadelphia's. You know, when Philadelphia won the Super Bowl 2 years ago, you know, they put a statue of a guy that's not even there anymore. The coach is Doug Peterson, but Nick Foles is in Jacksonville, and they let him go. They let him go for Carson Wentz. So those fans will never forget Nick Foles. They'll never forget what he did and what it meant to be an Eagles fan at that moment. I have no doubt that's what it's like for the Kansas City fans right now in that franchise. And Clark Hunt, the Hunt family, you know, a legendary family of professional football. Lamar Hunt, the late Lamar Hunt, was one of the most influential owners ever in the game. And his son Clark now takes over the reins of the franchise, and here they are winning. And it's amazing, you know, San Francisco and 9 other teams had a chance to draft Patrick Mahomes. Now, San Francisco got a guy named Solomon Thomas. That was their 3rd pick of that 2017 draft, but Pat Mahomes didn't go until the 10th pick. And I think Kansas City had to trade to get that 10th pick. And they knew, even with Alex Smith on the roster, that he would be their guy. And certainly that is what happened as Alex Smith left free agency and Pat Mahomes stepped in. He has been in the league 3 years, but he has only played in 2 seasons. He played this year and, of course, last year. In that first year that Pat Mahomes was a Kansas City Chief, he didn't play. Alex Smith played. Now, he may have gotten in a few times. I can't recall if he played at all in that rookie season of his, but he was on the sideline watching Alex Smith, who may never play again because he had such a horrendous and awful leg injury as playing for the Washington Redskins that he was at one point looking at amputation. That's how bad it got for Alex Smith in Washington when he got hurt, and it was a shame. But he was the quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs the year that Pat Mahomes was a rookie, and then Pat Mahomes steps in last year, lights the world on fire. They get to the AFC Championship game. They hosted that game, and New England beat them. Well, this year they also hosted the AFC Championship game because the Baltimore Ravens lost to the team that they then beat in the AFC Championship game, which was the Tennessee Titans. And so the rest is history as we go into the Super Bowl now. 2 weeks off, and the Chiefs end up winning here on February the 2nd. Super Bowl 54, 21 unanswered points in the fourth quarter. They trailed, as we mentioned earlier, 24-0 and 17-7 in previous playoff games, both in the first half, but they mounted those comebacks. The big play was passes of 44 yards to Tyreek Hill and 38 yards to Sammy Watkins. They came on short throw. There were also big plays on short throws to Travis Kelce, where you saw the Niners finally kind of give in. They were in charge of that game. I thought when they had the interception in the third quarter, San Francisco was simply going to win the game. It didn't happen, and the Chiefs go on. The Damian Williams running back had, again, 2 touchdown runs. He had 104 yards. And Andy Reid, at 61 and 20 years as coaching in the NFL, wins a Super Bowl ring. He also won a Super Bowl ring in 1996 as an assistant with the Green Bay Packers. He was in charge of the tight ends, and that was under Mike Holmgren, of course. And then he was a head coach with the Philadelphia Eagles, and they lost in the Super Bowl with Donovan McNabb to the New England Patriots. I think that game was in Jacksonville, Florida, actually. So they lost that game. But I was impressed with the way the Chiefs came back. I thought it was over. I picked the 49ers. I lost money on the 49ers, Taylor. I lost money on the 49ers, but it's okay. I'm wearing the Chiefs hat because I love the logo, and I think the franchise is great. As Shane said earlier here on the show, they certainly are one of the iconic franchises in the NFL, but they've only gotten 2 Super Bowls 50 years apart. But this could be the start. This could be the start of something very special and very long-lasting in Kansas City. Why? Because Pat Mahomes is there, and there is no chance of him not signing a max deal with Kansas City in my mind. I can't imagine him leaving because he will be able to with his contract coming up, but Kansas City is certainly going to keep him, and I don't think there's any doubt about that. I also think we're going to hear back from San Francisco. That is a solid team. They are good in so many and just about every area of the game. Special teams, they're good. Defense, they're great. Offense, I think they're very good. But I was surprised that they did not run that football on 2nd and 5 at least twice to try to get the first half. Let's take a look at Facebook Live and see if we've got anything. Good morning. Bill says San Francisco lost when they were celebrating their win on the sidelines with a 10-point lead at the beginning of the fourth quarter. That's I can't say that's how they or why they lost, but at that point you thought they were going to win, certainly. And I guess Patrick Mahomes had different ideas. Thank you for chiming in there, Bill. I don't know. I think it's a good lesson that you really have to wait until the zeros are on the clock in the fourth quarter before you do your celebrating. But, here it is, the Super Bowl. You're up by 10 with the football, and you've got a chance to put this game away. But Kansas City's defense was resilient. Chris Jones, the former Mississippi State defensive lineman, 6'6", gets his big meat hook up there and bats the ball down on some big plays that San Francisco could have easily completed. Shane thinks it wasn't as big a miss as but I thought the George Kittle miss in the middle of the field there on that 3rd and 5 was huge. I mean, that play action was there, open for him. He also missed Sanders down the middle or down the sideline on a wide open pass, Garoppolo here. So it didn't work out for them. And then he took a couple sacks on that last drive with under 3 minutes to go, and Kansas City ran it out because Kansas City's defense is one of the 2 defenses with the top 3 payrolls in the NFL. I think San Francisco's is number 2 in guaranteed money. Kansas City's is number 3. I think that's true. And San Francisco's defense, or I should say Kansas City's defense, was wonderful last night. I mean, 20 points. If you had said before the game that San Francisco was going to get 20 points, would the Chiefs win? The answer is a resounding absolutely they're going to win. San Francisco scored 2 touchdowns and kicked 2 field goals. Now, on 4th and 2, I think the 49ers should have gone for it instead of kicked a Robbie Gould field goal. A 4th and 2 play, and you're going to kick a field goal to go up by 10. Well, you've got 15 sitting over there on the sideline, and yes, you had them for most of the game, but most of the game ain't all of the game. And with 7 minutes left, the Chiefs hit the switch. They hit the switch and scored 21 points. And that was all she wrote. Kansas City wins. Let's take a timeout. 8:40. We're on Pot Up with Matthews in the morning. We'll come back. We'll talk a little Gator basketball. We'll continue with more of the Super Bowl 54, and we will also look at some of your text messages, and questions on Facebook Live after the break. We'll be right back.
Hey, time out.
Oh, I need more questions.
There we go. Good.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills.
Let's give them something to cheer for now.
Our Gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security, small enough to serve you, large enough to care. Gators Dockside, wings, ribs, seafood, and beer.
Bob in trouble, gets rid of it. Oh, big hit.
Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility.
Our touchdown sponsors are Radware Promotional Materials, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Gator BTW, Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, Miapa Latin Cafe, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Adams Ribs, The Keys Restaurant, UF Mover Guys, Union Home Mortgages, Okido America Martial Arts and After School, and Tropical Smoothie Cafe.
If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click on the advertise button or call Freddie Wiebe at 352-284-3733.
Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Still looking. He's going for the end zone. He's got a touchdown.
Did you know you can listen to Pod Up on Apple Podcasts and Spotify? Well, now you do. First, locate your Apple Podcasts app in your iPhone. Once you've found the app, click on it, search for Pod Up with no spaces. It should be one of the first search results. All you have to do is click, subscribe, and you'll hear all our latest episodes. Now let's do Spotify. Same thing. You gotta download the app and then find it and search Pod Up. No spaces, and it should be one of the first search results. On this app, you follow, and once you do, you'll get all the updates on when our new episodes get posted. Happy listening!
All right. Welcome back to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning. We're happy to have you every morning from 8 to 9 o'clock right here, live from the Crime Prevention Security Systems Studios. Celebration Point, of course, is also a sponsor. It's where the Gators come to celebrate with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Nike, Palmetto Moon, Regal Cinemas, and coming soon, Steve Spurrier's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We will see you at Celebration Point, where Gators come to celebrate. No question about it. I've been out there. It's fun. It's a good time, especially on a Friday night. Some nice places to go and patronize. And of course, I like that Nike outlet. It's a good place to go if you're still buying Nike shoes, that is, or like Nike still. Kansas City. 31-20 winners over the San Francisco 49ers in Super Bowl 54. And, of course, Andy Reid gets his 222nd win. Of course, the biggest of his 21-year NFL career. I said 20 years earlier, but it's been 21 years now. So that leaves Marty Schottenheimer, who coached the Chiefs and three other teams, including the Chargers, and I think it was the Bengals, but the Chargers for sure, as the winningest coach without a title. He won 205 regular season and playoff games. So obviously this puts Andy Reid in line for the Pro Football Hall of Fame for sure, and it's probably in line for that before winning the Super Bowl. He's taken two teams to the Super Bowl, and he won in 1996 with the Packers as an assistant coach under Mike Holmgren. But this was a big one. Marv Levy took the Bills to 4 straight Super Bowls in the 90s, and he is the only NFL coach in the Super Bowl era who has made the Hall without a championship. We had a text message coming from Nick, and Nick says, with Andy Reid's title, winning the Super Bowl 54, have there been any other Hall of Fame coaches to miss on the Super Bowl? I wasn't sure if Bud Grant is a Hall of Famer. I'm thinking he is, but I don't know that. But he never won with Minnesota, and certainly Marv Levy with Buffalo with 4 chances, and all these Buffalo Bill fans, Scott Norwood, wide right. Otherwise, Marv Levy wins the Super Bowl, and so there's nothing you can do about that. The kid missed the field goal. It's 40-something yards, and Parcells and the stinking Giants won. Carmen says, do you think the Chiefs will be able to keep Hill, Williams, and Kelsey if they pay Pat the money he deserves? That is a great question, Carmen. Thank you for that. I don't know what their contracts look like right now, but they need those guys. Mahomes needs those guys, and I'm sure they will work it out. You know, the Patriots were genius with Tom Brady. They didn't give him the max deal that he's now going to either get or leave. And the reason why Tom Brady didn't take the max deals was because trying to keep some of these players around. There's a thing called the salary cap, and that is a very good question because we'll have to ask Cecil what Shane thinks about that tomorrow. That's a very good question, Carmen. Thank you for asking. I don't really know what their status is, unfortunately, with the contracts. I do know defensively, though, the Chiefs are locked down with some of these players, including Frank Clark, who played a great game last night, gets a Super Bowl win. He had some big sacks for Kansas City. And Chris Jones, who they will have to re-sign. I think he's going to be a free agent, but Chris Jones was a huge factor in that game last night, swatting down these passes that Garoppolo may have or may not have completed, but certainly tried to get away, and it didn't work out for the Niners. These plays just didn't go for them offensively, and they did for Kansas City, and the big play, of course, being that 3rd and 15, that one-man route where San Francisco kind of blew the coverage and Tyreek Hill was free, and there it is. They were playing this 3-deep zone, and there were guys left wide open. That's just not you can't do that. And San Francisco doesn't make mistakes defensively. This is the best defensive team in football, but it happened, and Kansas City took advantage at just the right time. And sometimes you'd rather have good timing than be good, right? Because Kansas City was running out of time, and they came back and finished it off with 7 minutes to go, down 10. I was impressed. I was not impressed with, though, how San Francisco handled the end of the first half. You have Kansas City on 3rd and long. They don't convert. There's 1:50 on the clock, and he lets Kansas City run 35 seconds off the clock before they punt the ball deep into your own territory, and then you take 2 running plays with 3 timeouts in your pocket. And so Kyle Shanahan elected to be conservative, and that is just a cardinal sin against the Chiefs. If you have the ball and you have a minute to go on any part of the field with 3 timeouts, you have to try to score. And I just disagree with the assessment that maybe that wasn't the plan. There wasn't a reason. If he wanted to do it, he would have done it. If he wanted to try to be aggressive, he would have been aggressive. If the Niners would have tried to score, they wouldn't have run the ball 2 times and not call a timeout with 3 timeouts in the pocket. And that pass to Kittle was well thrown. It was well executed. It could have got the Niners down to kick a field goal, but they should have had more time to try to score a touchdown. The play got called back because of offensive pass interference. So in this Super Bowl party I was at, you have these, and I think this was at every Super Bowl party, this box thing. What do? You put money in a pot, it goes to charity or to a winner, or you split it up. And if your box coincides with the digit, the second digit of the score for both teams, you win money at the end of the quarter. Some contests do it at the end of every score, and I think that's even more exciting because it gets more winning. It doesn't pay out as much, but it gets more people winning and more people involved. But nonetheless, at the end of the quarter, if your score, let's say you have a 3 with Kansas City and a 0 with San Francisco, and the quarter ends, you get that box, boom, you win money. Well, we had a friend who had zeros. The score was 10-10. He was loving San Francisco running out the clock. San Francisco completes that pass, and they call that ticky-tack offensive pass interference call, which I'm now told was the right call because George Kittle touched a defensive back who was chasing him with his arm extended. That is a penalty for some reason in the Super Bowl, which, by the way, I'm not even sure Kansas City had a penalty. I don't even know if Kansas City had a penalty in the entire game. They played perfect. So anyway, San Francisco gets this penalty. It's a pass interference penalty, and that basically ended any threat of a drive or any threat of scoring points. And if I'm a San Francisco fan, I'm sitting there, what the hell just happened? We had 3 timeouts and a minute to go, and we didn't even try to score. And then on the play we tried to score, they called Kittle for touching the defensive back with his arm extended. That was terrible. Can you tell I bet on the Niners? Anyway, the Chiefs won, and I'm happy for that. I love this arrow. This is arrow. I have a friend who thinks this is an ugly logo. Or actually, he thinks their helmets are ugly. He played in the league, by the way. I think he's crazy. I think he's out of his mind. Of course, I would expect that from a guy who played for the Oakland Raiders. But at any rate, the Chiefs are your champions. The Raiders have three Super Bowls, so don't, They're going to Vegas, by the way. That should be quite an event. A Raiders game in Las Vegas in a brand new, beautiful stadium. The Rams and Chargers are also going to be playing in a brand new, beautiful stadium. Arrowhead Stadium, where the Chiefs play, maybe one of the oldest stadiums, but possibly one of the most fun to be in, and those tickets will be impossible to get next year as Mahomes leads the Chiefs. But the Chiefs are going to have to look at this contract that he's coming up with soon, and they're going to have to they'll probably try to lock him up this offseason. I don't know why they would risk it, and sign him to a max deal. There's no chance of him ever leaving Kansas City, not after this. No chance. But it is a business, too, and he's going to get what he's going to get, and he's going to get the most money that he could possibly get. Looking at the penalties, I was wrong, just like I was on the prediction of the game. Kansas City did have some penalties called against them. They had 4 for 24 yards. San Francisco had 5 for 45, but that one pass interference play cost them points because they were either going to get a field goal or maybe try to throw a ball in the end zone, but they should have had more time and more opportunities, and I don't think the coach did a good job managing that first half, the end of that first half. I also don't think they really were that good in the fourth quarter. They had chances to put Kansas City away. They couldn't do it. Kansas City's defense showed up. Credit to the Chiefs. They win the Super Bowl. They are your Super Bowl champions. Recapping the Florida Gator basketball team as we look to wrap it up here on the show for a Monday post-Super Bowl. Shane will be back tomorrow, and we'll continue. But the Florida Gators beat Vanderbilt by 5. Was a kind of a ho-hum, not much to really think about kind of game, but they had to win it. They had to win it. I don't know what hopes you have or aspirations you have for the Gator basketball team this season. I would think after last week they aren't that high or as high as they were, but the season's not over and things change from January to February. Believe it, it does happen. And at the end of this month, if you start trending up and you get ready for college for the college basketball postseason, which of course entails the conference tournaments as well as the NCAA tournament, and you can get into that, who knows what's going to happen, right? The Gator basketball team is a kind of a quirky team right now. I'm not sure exactly where they're going to end up this month. They've got a very difficult schedule, as we had the great Frank Frangie tell us last week. You've got Kentucky twice and LSU. This is going to be a tough finish for the Florida Gator basketball team, but I think getting that win, beating Georgia now on Wednesday is key, and maybe the confidence will start to pick up, and we can start focusing on trying to get into the postseason as the Florida Gators look to have a successful year, because without getting into the NCAA tournament, it is not a successful year any way you wrap it up. All right, well, that's going to do it for us today on Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning. I'm glad you joined me. Thank you to Shane for joining us as he was on assignment. But his assignment tomorrow will be to be here with me. I'm glad you could join us today. Check us out on podupwithshane.com. You can also listen to us on Apple iTunes, Spotify, Facebook Live, and YouTube. I'm John Cornell. We'll see you tomorrow morning.